Hi, I'm Jamie, and I just wanted to educate you guys a little bit on Narcissistic Victim Syndrome. I myself was a victim of narcissistic abuse, and now I try to educate people in just helping them learn some of the symptoms of Narcissistic Victim Syndrome. If you've been a victim of narcissistic abuse, you probably know what it's like to have the parasite in your mind, replaying the tape over and over and over again. It's like a parasite gets stuck inside your mind. This is what Narcissistic Victim Syndrome is like. Victims will display confusion, fog, trauma, shame. They may get physically ill. They may feel sick. They may imagine that they're sick. They may be suicidal. They will probably be pacing a lot, or in sort of just a state of complete fogginess where they're not very responsive, not functioning as they normally would. They're going to be completely caught up in what has happened to them in their minds and totally traumatized. They may appear very hyper, frantic, irritable, depression, insomnia, losing weight drastically or gaining weight. These are all symptoms of Narcissistic Victim Syndrome. And those who develop Narcissistic Victim Syndrome have been in a war zone with a narcissistic personality or multiple ones in command. And they have been probably smeared or abused, hidden abuse. That's very typical in narcissistic abuse, is something called hidden abuse, gaslighting techniques, baiting and bashing, projection, shaming, minimizing their faults and maximizing yours, word salad games, circular conversations. All of these things the narcissist does to shame and gain control of the victim or the target, so that the victim and target become paralyzed. A false narrative may emerge. False accusations often occur. The narcissist builds a campaign, a smear on the victim or the target in order to clear themselves. It's really about their image. So the narcissists are trying to protect their image, and they'll do the necessary steps to make sure that they look like they haven't done anything wrong. And so they will anticipate what you're going to do in response to their abuse towards you, and then they're going to do things in order to cover it up. This is why it's called hidden abuse, and this is why it can't really be proved. All right? So one of the things I talk about in one of my videos is reactive abuse. And this is when a person who has been abused by a narcissist over a period of time starts to react to the narcissist's games. So they'll start to react to the gaslighting, the baiting and bashing. They'll start to get upset and frantic when they realize something terribly wrong has gone on. Something is going on, and they may know about it or they may not know about it. One of the techniques some narcissists do, covert narcissists, any of them, malignant narcissists, they will build a story or build a narrative, a false narrative on their victim or their target, and then they will hide the narrative from the victim or their target, and they will just tell certain people in their charmed circle. So they're very particular about who they are telling their lies to, their pathological lies to. And they're going to spin things and twist things to make it look like it's all the victim or target's fault. Now, anybody with any common sense knows that when there is a situation or a disagreement or something occurs, that both parties have probably messed up. Both parties have done something to contribute to the mess. But see, the narcissist wants to come across as God. They want to be God. They want to look like God. So what they're going to do in order to maintain that image and play the victim and the hero, they are going to completely smear the other person, the other side, so that that person becomes isolated, completely isolated from other people. That person will look like they have 3 horns on their head and that they're the Antichrist walking around because of how the narcissist, or maybe the narcissistic family group, has portrayed that person to other people. So nobody will want to talk to them or approach them or get their side or sit down and talk to them maybe and just, here's what I heard, is this true? No, because you've been smeared so badly by the narcissist. I mean, the things they're saying about you is probably everything that they are. So if they're calling you manipulative, most likely they're manipulative. If they're saying you're lying, most likely they're lying, because that's what narcissists do. They project onto you all of their traits. So a normal person would say, yeah, I messed up, I did this and this and this, but the narcissist is not going to do that. So forget about reconciliation or real closure with the narcissist, because it can't happen, because they're not going to admit they did anything wrong. And you're going to sit there admitting things and falling apart because they're going to shame you and humiliate you and threaten you. And that's what they do. That's the game they play. And they justify themselves in it. Remember, because it's all about their image. They don't care about you. They don't care about how you feel, what you've gone through, nothing. They don't care to hear if you need to explain yourselves. No, because they need to sit as judge and jury over you in order to maintain power and control over you and over the whole scenario or situation or whatever you're walking through with the narcissist. And I'm very sorry if you have had to deal with a narcissist, because it's awful. I have a little bit on here in this article I found from narcissisticbehavior.net. She talks a little bit about how when clients come in, they're frequently high-strung, nervous, high levels of fear, very low self-esteem, panic attacks, phobias, obsessive-compulsive behaviors, and they feel like they're going mad. And of course, all of you who have been in a dynamic with a narcissist, you do feel like you're going mad at the end of everything. And they're going to say, they're going to spin it to make you look crazy. And don't be surprised if they have some sort of proof that you are crazy, because that's the levels to which they will stoop in order to win. Because to them, it's about winning. They're going to say it's about love and all this other stuff that you know is a bunch of because you've had to deal with them in a more personal way. But they're not going to tell people that. Okay. She writes, they may have insomnia, eating disorders, underweight, overweight. They will be working through a lot of emotions involving shock, anger, and guilt. They will disassociate. One thing also that will happen to victims of narcissistic abuse is they will try to protect their abuser often, at least initially, until they're set free. They will be protecting their abuser. It's called Stockholm Syndrome. And they will make excuses for them, and they will maybe cover up for them, and they'll try to downplay what the narcissist has done, because the victim and the narcissist probably have a bond. Some sort of a bond has occurred, and the narcissist knows that they have power over the victim or the target, and they use that to their advantage to exploit them. And they're very, very happy to do so. They take great delight in manipulating and exploiting and humiliating other people and getting away with everything themselves. They think it's fun. If they can get away with it, they get off on this kind of stuff, sort of. You know, this is what makes them really tick. They just love it. one thing you'll see, maybe you've seen before, when you're in a dynamic with a narcissist, you've probably seen the narcissistic smirk. And you know what I'm talking about when I say the smirk, that evil little grin that comes across their face when they realize that they've just pulled off a big, huge thing and they're going to dump everything on you, I mean, and this is hard. This whole thing is hard because you're dealing with a type of evil that you've never come across before. And you realize how much evil you're like facing at this point. With all the games, the head games and all that, baiting and bashing and gaslighting and all sorts of stuff. The victim will often feel shame and humiliation. This is partly due to the narcissistic abuser projecting their shame onto them. They also tend to be over-responsible and apt to self-blame. This is because they learn to take responsible for the narcissist's behavior. They may act inferior or powerless and feel great guilt when talking about their perpetrator, even to the point of wanting to protect them. They're going to not have a very good confidence level. They've been subjected to gaslighting. She talks a little bit about gaslighting here. Gaslighting is a technique of psychological abuse used by narcissists in order to instill in their victims an extreme sense of anxiety and confusion to the point where they no longer trust their own memory, perception, or judgment. Gaslighting can happen in any relationship between any gender. It just requires two people, the gaslighter and the gaslightee. The gaslighter needs to be right all the time. That is how they keep their power and sense of self intact, while the gaslightee gives away their power to the gaslighter because they seek their approval in order to stay safe. That exchange allows the gaslighter to define the gaslightee's sense of reality. The gaslighting tango is one of the narcissist's games that happen gradually over time. It is a game or a dance that allows them to define and shape their victim's reality by eroding them mentally. To the victim, the gaslighting starts with a stage of disbelief. What is going on, Something happens in the gaslighting exchange that seems odd to them, and they can't believe that it has happened. This is so true. This happened to me. In the next state, it moves to defense. At this point, the victim still has enough of their self to fight and defend themselves, or they'll try to, against the gaslighting manipulation. However, they are told things each time that end up confusing them. You're too sensitive. You are mad. I never said that. You're imagining things. I never did that. They'll downplay stuff. You misunderstood me. I may have, okay? Or the narcissist may play tricks on them, moving things, hiding things, and so forth. Gradually, the victim, unable to work out the game, finally begins to doubt themselves. The final stage is depression, and by now they don't even recognize who they have become, and they feel broken and isolated. They begin to feel that they can't do anything right anymore because they've been shamed so much. They don't feel they can trust their own mind, and they withdraw with a skewed reality of what is really taking place. This is so true. And victims of narcissistic abuse often develop narcissistic victim syndrome from all the gaslighting that has occurred. So that just about wraps up my video for now. If you've been a victim of narcissistic abuse and you've developed symptoms of narcissistic victim syndrome, my heart really goes out to you. And I hope you can find the help and support you need, perhaps in support groups online, on Facebook, or just watching some videos. And just hang in there. It does get better over time. It does take time to heal. It does take time to get the parasite out of your mind. But over time you will heal. And please go no contact if you're able to and get away from the narcissist. Have a good day.